to the Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. I am your host, Jim Sella, in studio with J-Dash and JK47 and Big Easy.
Yep.
Keeping that baseball coverage coming, staying in the AL East. We got the Baltimore Orioles for you this week. I know nothing about them, so I'm just going to let you guys do most of the work and take all the credit.
Well, you know Adam Jones and Manny Machado, correct?
Sure.
That white dude hits home runs, too. What's his name?
Chris Davis, that's the only one I know.
Okay.
Yes.
We know that.
And Buck Showalter's their coach.
Yeah.
That's about the most I know about the Orioles.
And they have the best uniforms in the Major League Baseball, too.
Well, Baltimore, they made a couple moves this offseason. They re-signed pitcher Darren O'Day. That was a big re-signing for them, for their bullpen. They re-signed catcher Matt Wieters. Obviously, another good signing for them. They do have a prospect catcher in the minors that I really, really like that we'll talk about here in a minute. Matt Wieters, he's not on a long-term deal or anything, so he may not be with the team too long, but he is going to be playing for him this season. And he played not great last season, but a little bit better than he did the prior season. So hopefully he can gain a little bit more momentum going into this season and stay healthy, yes.
Yeah, health's being an obvious factor with Wieters over the last several seasons.
Correct. And obviously they re-signed first baseman Chris Davis. Another big signing for him, a big power hitter. He doesn't really hit for a high average, though, but he did pretty decent last season. He did hit, 262. Prior to that, I remember a year he had trouble hitting 200, correct?
There was that time. He's always had the big-time power.
Oh, yeah, huge power.
Plus, he has some personal issues, too, right?
Maybe.
He got suspended for using something.
Yeah, he got suspended for 50 games or
the
something.
year before.
But, yeah, still, he can hit a baseball far.
Yeah, a couple of these guys on this team can, actually. A couple other signings here. They signed Korean outfielder Hyun-Soo Kim. This guy is probably going to start in the outfield for him this season. He doesn't give you huge power or anything, but he had a great average and a great on-base percentage in Korea, and they're hoping he can carry that over to the major leagues, and he could be a nice table setter for Adam Jones and Manny Machado in that lineup if he can come through with what they think.
Is he going to be the Korean Ichiro?
I don't think he's going to be as good as Ichiro now. Definitely not. Ichiro was a little bit younger when he came into the league as well. This guy's not necessarily a young guy anymore. He's in his prime right now. They signed Vance Worley to a one-year deal. Not a huge signing or anything, but a guy that can pitch out of the bullpen for you or fill in a rotation spot if somebody in your rotation doesn't work out or gets injured as well. And they signed pitcher Del Thayer. They made a couple trades. They traded for outfielder L.J. Hose. They gave Houston cash for him. I actually believe L.J. Hose was in Baltimore's system at one time and then went to Houston. I could be wrong on that. I can't quite remember. But L.J. Hose, I do know this guy is nothing more than a fourth outfielder in the major leagues. They traded for first baseman / outfielder Mark Trumbo. That was one of their bigger trades this season. That they brought him over from Seattle for catcher Steve Clevenger. Trumbo, we're going to have to see where he plays. I mean, they're saying he could play some first base. He's going to DH. I mean, I was looking at projected lineups, not just here on MLB.com. I was looking all over the place, and really everyone disagrees about the projected lineup here. So we'll have to see where Trumbo fits in. I mean, he can play in right field for you. He could play first base, or he could DH. So we'll have to see what they do.
Well, some of the ones I saw still had Chris Davis is not signed also, and they had Trumbo starting at first base.
Right. See, I think Chris Davis will be the one starting at first base most days, and Trumbo probably being the DH. Because I don't think they're going to want to stick him in the outfield. I don't think he's that great of a fielder. Now, they have here on MLB.com, Ryan Flaherty and Nolan Reinwold starting, but obviously I think Kim is going to be starting in the outfield as well. So we'll have to see what they do here. A couple guys they lost. They lost Wei Yin Chen. That was their big loss this season. He's probably their best pitcher. Now, he was pitching in a tough division, we know, so he didn't put up elite stats or anything, but now that he's over to the National League, I think he can put up some decent numbers. Now, he put up decent numbers last year. I'm not saying he was bad or anything, and this is going to be a huge loss for Baltimore, in my opinion, but I think that guy has a chance to put up some nice numbers here in the coming years.
I agree. If I were Baltimore, I probably would have tried to find a way to re-sign this guy because, I mean, he's been the one stable thing in your rotation over the past 3 seasons.
Right.
I mean, yeah, they expected Tillman to be an ace after his big season, but I mean, he really hasn't worked out.
I know, man, and he's listed as their number 1 right now.
So, I mean, that's a risky move by Baltimore right there, just even considering letting him go in the first place.
Couple other guys they lost here. They lost outfielder Gerardo Parra. Now, he wasn't with the team very long, but he would have fit in very nice in this outfield, I believe, and definitely started. I mean, it's a big loss in a way, but like I said, he wasn't with them very long, so it's not really affecting their long-term plans or anything. And they also lost first baseman / outfielder Steve Pierce to free agency as well. So, I mean, the biggest loss to me is Wei and Chen. You look at this rotation, you got Chris Tillman, Miguel Gonzalez, Ubaldo Jimenez, Kevin Gossman. I mean, they really need this guy to step up and
They
be.
expected this guy to have ace-type stuff.
Well, he does. He has ace type stuff. They've been pitching him out of the bullpen and whatnot the past couple seasons. Gave him some starts last season. This guy really needs to step up and show he can be at least a number 1. He doesn't have to be an ace. He has to be better than a number 4 pitcher for him. And then Mike Wright at the back end of their rotation. So their rotation isn't looking that great right now. They're hoping Dylan Bundy can maybe do something. I mean, they're still waiting for this guy to step up and do something as well. But right now, I mean, the Orioles rotation looks like one of the worst in baseball to me.
Oh, without question.
Their bullpen, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not great either. Zach Britton, I'll take him as my closer. Darren O'Day, I like him at the back end as well. So your back 2, I do like. And then Brian Mattis, maybe. I mean, that guy isn't too bad. They got this Michael Givens. He's a young guy that looks like he could be a future closer. I don't know if he's going to be able to step into that 7th or 8th inning role this season. Their bullpen isn't terrible. I think it's more about the rotation when it comes to the pitching. But they do have a prospect in the minors. Obviously, Dylan Bundy, which we mentioned. But they also have this guy, Hunter Harvey. This is a guy with huge upside. But the problem is he really can't stay healthy. We here in Pittsburgh, yeah, we talk about Tyon not staying healthy. Hunter Harvey is really a guy that just hasn't been able to pitch, but he has all the upside in the world. And they think if he can stay healthy this year, there's a possibility he can just climb straight to the bigs at some point this season. We'll have to see, but it would be a real nice thing for them because they have a couple guys here that you could drop out of this rotation. I mean, what are you going to get out of Ubaldo Jimenez? This guy hasn't been good in years, really. Miguel Gonzalez, he really isn't going to give you more than number 4, 5 type numbers, I wouldn't believe.
I'll tell you what Ubaldo Jimenez is going to give you, 100%.
He'll give you 100% maybe, but his 100%, I mean...
You can't see him having a Liriano type season.
Not with the Baltimore, well, not in this division, first of all, but Jimenez, no.
I mean, he's plenty capable of throwing the ball well.
I think Liriano always had more upside than Jimenez, to tell you the truth. But, I mean, ever since Jimenez left Colorado, he really only had, 1 good year in Colorado, I believe it was, maybe 2.
Actually, I think he was good for he was really good for, maybe 3/4 of the year, and then he actually kind of tailed off, towards the end.
But then I thought he came out the next year and, had a good year and got traded or something. So he actually had, a year and a half of good years in Colorado.
I think his year was solid, but, I mean, I think he was still, trade bait because he probably went out of Colorado.
So you can see a ton of questions here in the rotation. Another one, Chris Tillman. I mean, this guy can be a good pitcher for you. I don't know if he's ever been a number 1, but last season he was just bad. I mean, there's no way around it. So he pitched like a number 4 or 5 last season. He can pitch like a number 2 or 3. So they really need him to pitch better than he did last season if they want to stay in this race all year long. Then you look at what they have on the field. Obviously, I'd say their best 2 players. Manny Machado, obviously, at third base, I would say is their premier player on this team. And Adam Jones in center field, a guy that could be an MVP if he could just take some more walks. I mean, this guy doesn't have a huge on-base percentage because he can't take the walk. But outside of that, I mean, he gives you everything you want out of a player. Good defense, speed, some power, hits for a pretty decent average most years. So those 2 players right there is what's going to have to lead this offense, along with Chris Davis. You got to have those home runs, and you got to hit over 200, obviously. But then you got j.j. Hardy at shortstop. Has always been a decent shortstop. Showed some power some years it's down, but he's always been a solid player. Jonathan Scope at second base. This is a young guy that really has to pick his average up and pick his on-base percentage up. He actually has a little bit of power in terms of second baseman, but really he is still very raw. And I don't know. He strikes out a little bit too much. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to bring that average up. But I do like Scope a little bit. And then Chris Davis at first, like we were saying, maybe Mark Trumbo here and there. We'll have to see. They also have a prospect first baseman in the minors, Trey Mancini. He's 23 years old, hit .341 with a .375 on base last season, 43 doubles, 21 jacks, only had 31 walks, but 93 Ks and 533 at-bats between A advanced and Double A. You might see him in 2017 more likely, but I mean, really, with Chris Davis there signing that big contract, they might want to think about doing this guy as well. But what I like about him is he has that power and he doesn't strike out too much. So I think this guy has a chance to succeed in the major leagues. So they might have a little bit of a trade chip right there. But we're going to have to see what they do with this lineup. I mean, they're going to start Wieters at catcher. Machado's going to be at third. Hardy short. Scope at second. Do you want to give Chris Davis some time off and play him at DH some? Do you want to play Trumbo at first base? Do you want to play Trumbo in the outfield? Because I really don't think they're going to start Flaherty. It's going to be Kim, Jones, and probably Reimold. But you could put Reimold at DH as well and put Trumbo in the outfield. They have a lot of options here they can work with. In that catching prospect I was talking about before, this is one of my favorite prospects in baseball. He doesn't get much attention. I think he made the top 100 just once, but he's done nothing but hit. He only had 74 at-bats in Double A last year, but you look at his career numbers, he hit .326 with a .402 on-base percentage and 865 minor league at-bats. Now, he's not a fast guy, obviously. He's a catcher. He doesn't have huge power or anything either, but he's just a guy that always has a high batting average and a high on-base percentage, and really out of a catcher, that's more than what you expect out of a major league catcher. I mean, there's only a couple good hitting catchers in the major leagues, and I think this guy is going to be a guy that you always see on base. He's going to score a lot of runs for you. Then one other prospect they have, Joey Ricard. He's actually listed on their 25-man roster right now, so this guy you may see early this season. He's already 24 years old, but he hit .321 with a .427 on-base percentage last season. Doesn't have much power, but he had 23 stolen bases, took 69 walks compared to 75 Ks and 396 at-bats between A advanced, Double A, and Triple A last year. So we're going to have to see. He's probably more of a fourth outfielder, but I think he's going to give them some value this season as well. So what do you think here? What do the Orioles need still, or is this a good enough team to win in this division?
This team needs to add a starter if it's going to have a chance of competing in this division.
Well, what if Kevin Gausman steps up and pitches like an ace?
All right, well, is Tillman and possibly Jimenez going to fall
Well,
in
I'd
the
say
same?
Tillman you have to expect to improve some. He's always been a better pitcher than what he showed last season. He had a down season, but I think he's proven that he's a little bit better than he was last year. So maybe he pitches like a number 3. Ubaldo pitches like I wouldn't expect more than a 4 out of him, more than a 4 out of Miguel Gonzalez, and more than a 5 out of Wright. So you may be missing something like a number 3 here if Gausman steps up and is the guy they want him to be.
Well, what they really need is Dylan Bundy to come up.
Dylan Bundy could help. Hunter Harvey could step in. So is the offense good enough at least? Because they have some young pitchers here that could step in and make this rotation respectable by
They're going to
season's
score
end.
runs. There's no doubt about it. Machado, I mean, he started hammering the ball last year.
Yeah, Machado, he really broke out last season. This is a guy I always liked in the minor leagues, but I didn't really think he was going to be what he showed last season. And he's definitely one of the premier third basemen in all of baseball now. And I kind of wish that it kept him at shortstop, because if he was a shortstop, I mean, he would be one of the best hitting shortstops in Major League Baseball history if he could keep up what he did last year.
Well, not to mention, like, a full year from Wieters, him being healthy is going to
Yeah.
help. So, I mean, he provides decent pop also.
Yeah, Wieters I like, Machado I like, Hardy I'm happy with. Scope we'll have to see. I mean, I told you I like the guy, but I'm not quite so sure he could hit in the majors. You like what you get out of Chris Davis, even if he does hit 220. I mean, if he gives you 40 home runs, that's acceptable. We're going to have to see out of the rest. I'm not a big Mark Trumbo fan. He had one good half of a season a few years ago, and everybody's been expecting the same thing out of him since, and he just doesn't do it. And Adam Jones in the outfield's the only one I completely trust. We'll have to see what we get out of Kim. We'll have to see how Reimold plays this season. I mean, he's He's a consistent player, I guess, but he's not an elite player or anything. He's a solid player at best. And Flaherty, I mean, I don't have much hope in him as well. I do like this lineup, though. I think they're going to score runs in that division, obviously. It's just the pitching. You're right.
I think you got it all covered.
Well, what do you think? What place?
Well, 5th.
You're going to say 5th place. You don't think these young pitchers are going to step up and give them a respectable rotation by season's end?
No, unfortunately, this is going to be the year that the other teams beat up. This is the team that gets beat up in that division.
47?
I'm going to say they're going to finish 4th.
Over Tampa.
Just Tampa.
And
I mean, and honestly, you can flip them too.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, that's like you said earlier. I like Tampa Bay's pitching also, but
yeah, I think
lack
that's
of
the difference
offense
to me.
is a
I mean,
killer.
Tampa, they did bring in Dickerson, like Easy mentioned before, and they still have Longoria out there. I think I like Orioles' offense a little bit more than Tampa.
Yeah,
but I can't
I'll go with you there.
I can't get over the Tampa rotation, so I'm going to say Tampa outdoes. In fact, I think
and
Tampa's
offense on
kind of a
paper means
sleeper.
nothing. Sorry, but offense on paper means nothing. I mean,
You're right. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'm going to have to agree. 5th place. I think Tampa's more of a sleeper team, even though I did predict them as 4th place. Jim, what are you saying?
Last, everybody from Baltimore's garbage.
except for Mark.
Except for my buddy Mark, yes.
Manny Machado is a beast.
Manny Machado
All
is good.
sports teams from Baltimore can suck it. Especially you, Joe Flacco.
Well, what about Cal Ripken Jr.?
Yeah.
Well, Kyle
He's the Iron.
Cal
yeah,
Ripken
he's a
Jr.
true
played
veteran.
in Baltimore before I hated Baltimore, so that's fine.
Cal Ripken Jr. is the best.
I didn't start hating Baltimore till the Ravens moved there, so as long as he was
Who else?
cemented in Baltimore history before then, it's fine.
Who else was there? That was the
Brooks Robinson?
the Baltimore Colts.
Brooks Robinson
Who played
was
for
there.
the Baltimore
Johnny
Colts.
Unitas.
Yeah. You got to love Johnny Unitas then, too.
He's a Western PA guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drafted by the Steelers, actually.
Anything else, Dash?
No, that's about it.
Orioles are
Weeders.
garbage.
No, I don't think the Orioles are garbage. If those prospects can step up, I mean, obviously Hunter Harvey got to stay healthy. If he can stay healthy in the minors, show he can pitch like he did a few years ago, I think he could step into this rotation and be a very, very good pitcher. I think Gausman can be a good pitcher, and if Bundy ever can stay healthy, I think he could be a good pitcher as well. So they have a possibility here.
If you don't make the playoffs, you're garbage.
Spark that Weeders up.
Fans, you can hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin if you got anything to add. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube and click and subscribe. Share these segments with friends. There are more than one people that like the Baltimore Orioles.